participants, very good evening. Right. So in your case, whether you are having those two tables, I guess, movies and members. Remember? Now let's try to import. I think in this database itself, you are having those two tables. Just check that out. Movies and members. Now today, let's try to focus on understanding what we can do with this topic. What are joins? Hmm? Having, right? Okay. Having clause. So first, let's go with having, then we'll try to proceed further. First thing first, let's try to understand the use case. Let's do a quick recap of yesterday's session. Yesterday, we discussed something called group by aggregate functions. We are having 5 different types of aggregate functions: sum, min, max, average, count. So when we are referring to each and every aggregate function available, the main thing that we'll be focusing on here is understanding the data. If you are performing directly an aggregation, that aggregation itself is something going to be applicable for your entire data set. Instead, if you want to perform it based upon group, first thing first, what you will be doing is you will be grouping the data. Based upon that particular group, you will try to focus on performing an aggregation like sum, min, max, average, count. Group by aggregations are something possible without group by. One more time, I'm repeating the same concept. Aggregate functions works without group by. But group by only works if you are utilizing aggregate function. If you are not utilizing aggregate function, you cannot proceed working with group by concept. If you are directly applying an aggregate function on a column called sales or profit, that is going to be applicable for your entire sales column or your entire profit column. But in case, if you are trying to segment it based upon group, as we discussed earlier, department ID column is there. Only 11 distinct departments are there. But those 11 distinct departments are repeated for 106 times. That means each and every department wise, what is the total sales or total profit is something, you can get that idea. So in the case yesterday we discussed, department is something that we utilized, considered it as a group. Based upon that particular group, you tried focusing on understanding what is the total sale, what is the, that means aggregations, minimum, maximum, sum, total, average. These are the different types of aggregations that we discussed earlier. Right. So uh, voice is clear, guys, online participants? Clear? Okay. Right. So first thing first that we'll try to focus on here is how this particular functionality having works. What are the main things that we need to focus on? Chalo. Select star from my MP. You are having all these columns available. These are all the rows that are been available. Now, the main thing that we'll be focusing on here is I just want to filter the data based upon the aggregated data. So for example, you are having some columns like salary or department, commission percentage, some columns are there. Earlier, we discussed about filtering the data on where clause, but in case if I want to filter the data on an aggregated column, then the having clause comes into picture. See, take that simple consideration. You are having a simple table MyMP. If my requirement is, I want all the employees whose salary is greater than 15,000, I can write an SQL query for it, like select star from table name, where salary is greater than 15,000 and I can get the data. Fine, well and good. But if my question is, I want those departments where total salary of the department is greater than 15,000. Understanding the question? There is a huge difference between the first question and second question. The first question that what I asking is, I want all the employees whose salary is greater than 15,000. For that, you are ended up writing a syntax called select star from table name where salary greater than 15,000. But in case, if I'm asking you, I want those departments where total salary of the department is greater than 50,000. For these kind of scenario questions, you need to go with a topic called have a clause. Clear? The first thing that you need to focus on here is, okay, once again, I'll try to explain. Earlier, the question is, I want all the employees whose salary is greater than 15,000. So there you are writing that syntax called select star from table name where salary greater than 15,000. But if you are going with the second problem statement, I want those employees, I want those departments where total salary of the department is greater than 15,000. In the earlier case, if salary is greater than 15,000, I can get the data. It's fine. But now what is the situation is, if you are taking one particular department, say for example, 2 employees are there. For both the employees, salary is 6,000 and 6,000. Now, if you are trying to focus on performing total salary for the department, what is the total salary? Now, the 12,000 is greater than 15,000? No. Eventually, you will not get the data. But in case, if you are going with this topic called having, we assigned a condition greater than 15,000. So, if that particular condition satisfies that requirement, then get the data. First, let me write some simple code so that based upon that, you will try to understand what exactly I'm trying to conclude. But before that, anyone remembered that order of execution of clauses? What is that order of execution of clauses? Select from where, group by, having, and then order by, limit, offset. Now just tell me one thing. Having is something available after group by or before group by? After group by, you can use your having clause. Now having clause is something utilized to filter the data. Quite similar to your where clause. Now, yes, exactly. So here the requirement is, I want to utilize this having clause, but where to use? After group by you need to use. Remember one thing, if you want to utilize this concept called group by, no need to utilize having. But if you want to utilize having, you need to make sure you are utilizing your group by concept as well. I hope it's clear. See, a possible interview question that you can expect in the interview. What is the difference between where clause and having clause? Guys, one more time I'm repeating the question. The simple requirement you can expect a question is, what is the difference between where clause and having clause? Where clause is utilized to filter the data on a physical column available in your data set, whereas having clause is something utilized to filter the data on aggregated column, guys. There is a significant difference. There is a huge difference between a column called salary and a column called total salary. Yes or no? There is a huge difference between salary column and total salary column. Salary is talking about non-aggregated physical column, whereas total salary is talking about aggregated column. Now what I'm suggesting you to do is, if you are having a non-aggregated column called salary, and on that column if you want to filter the data, go with where clause. But if you want to filter the data on an aggregated column like total sales, minimum sales, maximum sales, average sales, count, go with having based upon your grouped data. That means where comes before group by or after group by? Before group by. Having comes after group by. Okay. Simply in interview, if anyone is asking what is the difference, first point, where clause comes before group by, having clause comes after group by. Where clause is used to filter the data on a physical column, whereas having clause is utilized to filter the data on aggregated column. Now let's try to understand the syntax. First thing first, let's try to go with yesterday's requirement. What is the requirement? I want department-wise total salary. How many departments are there? 11. How many employees are there? That means 106 employees have been working in these 11 departments. If multiple employees have been working in the same department, that same department is repeated for multiple times, right? That means if you are trying to take that average, if you are trying to take that aggregate of that entire department, automatically you will be getting that entire data, total salary. Now, let's try to execute that code. Department wise, what is the total salary? Select department ID, comma, sum of salary as total salary from my EMP, and we are grouping it based on department ID, and you might get unordered data. So I'll, for simplicity, I'll order by department ID. It's optional, not mandatory. Execute it. How many rows you are getting? That means 11 departments have been there. Online participants, anywhere if you are feeling complexity or trouble understanding the concept, please let me know. The same case with offline. If anywhere you are not understanding the topic, please let me know. I'm here to explain you one more time. No problem. Okay. Chalo, 11 departments are there. Department wise total salary, are you getting it or not? Yes. Now my requirement is, I want all those departments where total salary of that particular department is something greater than 20,000. What is this total salary for department 10? What is the total salary for department 20? That means if, say for example, in department 20, 2 employees are working, if you are adding the salaries of those 2 employees in department 20, the total salary is 19,000. If you are talking about this department 30, 24,900, if 5 to 6 employees are working in department 30, if you are adding the total salary of all these 5 to 6 employees, then the total salary is 24,900. Like that, my requirement is, I only want those departments where total salary of the department is greater than 20,000. So here what I'll be doing is simple. After group by, I will put a clause called having clause. For timing, I'll remove this. I don't want to make it complex. Group by department ID, having, what is the condition? Salary greater than 20,000 or total salary greater than 20,000? Now the total salary is aggregated column or non-aggregated column? Aggregated column. So having total salary greater than 20,000. Now select this entire code. If you are focusing on this, somewhere you can see 4,400. Is it greater than 20? 19,000. Is it greater than 20? 6,500. Is it greater than 20? Now I don't want all these records. So select this entire code and just click on execute. 7 records have been provided. Now all these 7 records are with department's total salary greater than 20,000 only. 20,300, 3 lakhs, 1 lakh 50,000, 24,000, 51,000, 28,000, 58,000. Now these are all the departments where total salary itself is greater than a value. Okay. Simple, you got understanding? Having clause is utilized to filter the data. Where clause is also utilized to filter the data. But the simple difference is if you want to filter the data on a non-aggregated column, go with where clause. If you want to filter the data on an aggregated column, go with having clause. And where clause comes before group by, having clause comes after group by. As simple as it. Okay. Just check this out. Having is utilized to filter on aggregated, where is utilized to filter on non-aggregated. Okay, one more question. Try to filter the data. Average salary is something. Okay, okay, let's go with other question. Based on each and every job ID, first thing first, based on each and every job ID, try to fetch number of employees working in that job ID. You are having some job IDs like IT programming, ADVP, AD press, right? Based on each and every job ID, find how many employees are working in that job ID. And then later, the condition that you need to go with is greater than 20 employees. I only want those job IDs where number of employees working in that job ID is greater than 20. One more time, I'm repeating the question. Number of employees who are working in that particular job ID greater than 20, I only want to get those job IDs in my data. One row. Okay, fine. Done. Okay, provide me the code, guys. Select comma count. Okay, job ID, or you can go with employees or anything. Okay, I'll go with employee ID as number of employees from greater than 20. Select the entire code, just run it. So you will be getting the job ID where the number of employees working is 29. So you will get those job IDs where the number of employees working is greater than 20 based upon some filtering condition. If you are not utilizing this particular having clause, you will get normal regular grouped data. How many rows you are getting? Okay, I think I asked you to perform it on job ID, I guess. Okay, job ID group by job ID. How many rows you are getting? 19. What does it mean? 19 job IDs are available in your data set. Now, based on each and every job ID, you are getting total salary. Uh, this one, right? Sorry, my bad. We executed the correct code only. If you are not utilizing this particular function called having, you will be getting for each and every job ID count of employees. But here your requirement is I only want those job IDs where count of employees in that particular job ID is greater than 20. So automatically there is only one particular job ID with number of employees greater than 20, that is 29. That's it. Automatically when you are executing this code, you'll get this entire output. In case if you want that condition to be satisfied, just provide your having clause here itself. And automatically you will be getting those job IDs where, okay, so number, job ID, okay. So where number of employees is greater than 20. So based on that requirement, there is only one job ID where it's greater than 20. That is SA underscore REP with 29 employees. Okay. So I hope you got that idea. What is the difference between where clause and having clause? So is it okay? We'll go with the topic joins now. Let's go with simple 4 joins today. Maybe we are not having enough time. Okay. That in itself will take good 1.5 day time basically. So anyhow, let's go with the 4 basic important joins for today. And in the next class, we'll go with some other joins. So first thing first, the question is what are joins? The same thing that we discussed in Power BI also, if you remembered. There we discussed with some options called merge queries, append queries. May I know what is the difference between merge queries and append queries? Okay, good. Merge queries is utilized to combine two tables horizontally. If you want to go with append queries, connecting two tables vertically. So let me explain you one more time and then we'll jump into the main topic. Very important topic. This is something that you are going to utilize almost every day while you're working in any company, almost. Why? Because data itself is available in multiple tables. See, first thing first, what is the simple concept why we need to learn joins is every time data itself is not going to be available in one table only. Data itself is going to be available in multiple tables. And the primary requirement why it needs to be stored in multiple tables is simple. Data, to avoid data redundancy, the table needs to be in the same format. Chalo, first thing first, let me explain you the theoretical aspect also why data itself is provided in multiple tables. So that we'll go very slowly, no problem, right? No hurry burry, right? We'll go slowly. We'll try to understand theoretical part. Once we are pretty much clear, then only we'll jump into the practical approach. We haven't discussed about the topic called normalization till now, I guess. On the very first demo sessions, huh? Let's try to discuss about it. First thing first. Normalization itself is nothing but to avoid the data redundancy, you are trying to store that entire data in multiple tables. Once again, I'm repeating, to avoid data redundancy, you are going to store that entire data in multiple tables so that you can store that entire data in much more refined, organized way possible. So here the requirement is multiple normalization techniques are going to be there. First normal form, second normal form, third normal form, 4NF, 5NF, BCNF, Boy Scout normal form. Different techniques have been available. Each and every technique itself is explaining you one type of distinction. So for example, first normal form, 1NF itself is talking something about. So for example, if you are having a table which consists of multiple columns and multiple rows. Each and every box itself is nothing but it's a cell, right? Now inside cell, you can include only one data point. You cannot include more than one data point. So for example, you are having a column called ID. You can put something like 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. But you cannot say something called 4 comma 5 here in the same cell. That is something wrong. That is what the first normal form is not allowing you to do that. And second normal form, third normal form is explaining you to avoid data redundancy, duplicates. So let me explain you in a very simple way why data itself has been provided in multiple tables. See, you got any doubt like two tables are there, customers data is provided in customers table, products data is available in products table. Why can't we put customers and products both data in same table? Why can't we put, we can store it in that way also, right? So for example, if you are talking about one training institute and a tech company, so for example, there are two tables, three tables are there. One is trainer details. Okay, who are the trainers available? One table. Who are the students enrolled for the course? One table. And what is the course duration? All the remaining details is the other table. Why we are trying to store these entire data in different tables? Why can't we put all these things in the same table? No problem, right? What is the main drawback? Hmm? Storage. Okay. In what way? That is correct answer. In what way? See, try to understand in a simple way. Student details are there, trainer details are there. Say for example, if you are talking about students table, if 200 to 300 students are there in table, students table. But in trainers data, only 3 trainers are there. Got my point? If you are trying to store that entire trainers data in trainers table, you will be occupying only 3 records. But if you are trying to put these trainer details in students table, what is going to happen? Just beside to that student name, trainer name will also be displayed. That means we need to understand, right, which student has been enrolled for which trainer course, all those things. That means those 3 trainers itself is repeated for 300 times. Got my point? That means there, if you are trying to store it in another table, you are only occupying 3 rows. But if you are trying to store it in this particular table, you are going to occupy 300 rows. If say for example, customer is the customers table, orders is the orders table. If one customer, say for example, only 5 customers are there, guys. These 5 customers are only ordering close to 100 orders within 1 month of duration. Now in orders table, how many records are there? 100. In customers table, how many records are there? 5. Why? Because 5 customers are there. But if you are trying to put customers and orders both data in same table, now instead of having 5 records in customers table, now these 5 customers are repeated for 100 times. Duplicates you are adding. If you are adding duplicates, it's nothing but you are wasting some memory in the backend. Storage complications comes into picture. Once storage is increasing, memory complications itself is there, performance will degrade. See, let me explain you a simple example. There is one particular table called students table and there is one table called course table. First thing first, we'll try to understand putting both the data in the same table. Students plus course. I'll try to add all the columns in the table. What are the columns that you'll be having in students table? Student ID, student name, age, contact details, still, gender. Let's go with course details, course name, which course that particular student enrolled for, duration, fees, on and on and on. Now, if say for example 100 students are there, how many students? 100. We need to store that entire data in student ID column. It's fine. But if you are going with student name, how many students are there? Obviously, we need to insert all the student names. Here, are duplicates are there? Chalo, I'll remove duplicates. Is that possible, guys? No, that is not at all possible. No logic itself is there. You cannot remove name column. Duplicates are there. I'll remove in the sense. No, that is not a correct way. So you need to store entire data in that student name column. Age, possibly duplicates are going to be there. Between 20 to 25 age brackets, if for example, multiple students are there, duplicates are going to be there. In that case, I'll remove duplicates, I'll remove column. Is it a correct way? No, you need to store it. And contact details, obviously distinct data. Okay, I'll store it. Gender, here duplicates are there. Again, here I cannot delete the duplicates. Okay, well and good. Till now, it's clear. Now assume that all the 100 students are been enrolling for the same course called data analytic course. Now, here in course name, data analytics itself is repeated for 100 times. Now, is there any drawback here? Yes, obviously there's a drawback. Duration. So for example, 3 months is there. Now, for you, if the course is duration 3 months, for other student, it will be 5 months or 6 months, nothing like that. For all the 100 students, the course duration is 3 months only. Now, obviously, if you are trying to store, this 3 months itself is repeated for 100 times. As far as these columns are concerned, it's okay. Even though duplicates are there, I need to consider those duplicates. Why? Because that is something I need to store. But what is the logic of having duplicates of these two columns? Here you are wasting 2 column storage, guys, 100 times. Now what I am going to do is I'll try to segregate the data into 2 tables. I'll divide the data into 2 tables. One for students, the other one for course. In students table, you will be having some columns called student ID, student name, age, contact details, gender. And here you will be having some columns called course name, course duration, course fees, some columns are in there. Now, obviously, if you are segregating the data into the other table, for course table, you need to have one primary key, I guess. What is that primary key? Now, what is the primary key in students table? What is the primary key in course table? Course ID. Now, is that possible to connect 2 tables with the help of primary key and primary key? No. Is that possible to connect 2 tables with the help of primary key, foreign key? That means you need to add student ID column in course table, or you need to add course ID column in students table. I'll simply go with this approach by adding course ID column in students table. Now this in itself is your foreign key. Now if you want to connect these 2 tables with the help of course ID, you can connect 2 tables and you can get the data. As simple as it. Now, what we are going to do. Say for example, 100 students are there in students table. Student ID, student name, age, contact details, gender, everything itself is provided here in students table. Now, see here, what I'll be doing is in the previous scenario, in the same table, you are going to add all the details of course name, duration, fees, everything duplicates you're adding in that first table. Now here, no need to do that. Simply add one particular record called course ID 1, course name, data analytics, duration as well as fees. That's it, completed. Second table is completed. Only one record. Earlier, this individual record itself is repeated for 100 times. That too not for only one column, 3 columns. But now only one time you are repeating in the table. Now, For course ID column in this particular table, I'll simply put it as 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Why? Because all students are enrolling for data analytics only. Now now obviously you are going to connect two tables based on primary key and foreign key only. Now if you are connecting these two tables based on this, wherever ID 1 itself is provided for students table, obviously that is referring to course ID 1. That means all the 100 students are been enrolling for data analytic course only. If say for example, few students are been enrolling for full stack development course, I'll add one more course here called 2, full stack development, duration as well as fees. And here if say for example, some students are enrolling into full stack development, I'll change it to 2. Wherever 2 is there, they will be referring to full stack development. Wherever 1 is there, that means these are the students enrolled for data analytic course. Understood the drawback? In the earlier scenario, you are adding duplicate records for these 3 columns called course name, duration and fees for 100 times. Try to think in such a way that not 100 students are there, 5,000 students are there. Now how many times you're adding duplicates? 5,000 times you're adding duplicates. Now you're not having 3 columns, you're having 10 columns. Now 10 columns are having duplicates for 5,000 times, in the sense how much memory you are going to waste. Now try to think in that way. Got my point? So that is the reason you need to understand this particular scenario in more detailed way possible. So how you are going to split the data? That is something you need to understand with the help of normalization technique. In a neat, representable way, you are trying to segment, you are trying to divide, you are trying to segregate the data, and you are organizing it. That is the main reason you are trying to store the data in multiple tables. Normalization itself is nothing but entire clumsy data itself is available with you, and now you are trying to differentiate, you are trying to put whatever the data that has been there in multiple tables in a neat, organized way. That we call it as normalization. And there is one more type called denormalization as well. Now what is denormalization? Vice versa to normalization, ulta pulta. In normalization, you are putting all the data into multiple tables. Now denormalization is nothing but entire all tables are mixing in a same table. Now you might get a doubt. Till now you explained this is something which is a best practice, then why to go with denormalization? In majority of the cases, you will not go with denormalization, trust me. But there might be some scenarios you need to go with denormalization. In which scenario? Where if you are more interested to focus on performance related options. Performance, query optimization, faster data retrieval, go with denormalization. What I mean to say is, if entire data itself is available in the same table, retrieving data from the table is a very simple task, fast. But if the data itself is available in multiple tables, first table need to connect with second table, second need to connect with third table, third need to connect with fourth table. Within that process itself, you are going to take so much of time. Performance complications might come. Got my point? So try to think in this way and try to think in that way as well, so that you will get that elaborative understanding. Okay. So further different types of normalization techniques have been done. Based on industry standards, if you're pretty much clear with 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, it's more than enough. I hope it's clear. Okay. If you want to make an annotation, just try to represent it in your own words, guys. If you want to annotate something, if you want to have a note based upon your own understanding, just try to make a note of it, so that I'll go with the next topic. So let's try to go with the main topic called joins now. So joins itself is nothing but how you are going to join multiple tables. Simple thing, take a simple requirement. Customers data is there, which itself has been available in customers table. Products data is there, which itself is available in products table. Order data itself is available in orders table. So for example, payments are there. All the payment related details have been available in payments table. Now, if my question is, I just want to understand who are the customers available, I can go to customers table and I can get the data. If I just want to understand what are the payment modes available, I can go to payments table and I can get that data. If in case I just want to understand what are the products available, I can go to products table and I can get that data. Like in that scenario, in that way possible, for individual table requirement, I can go to the table and I can get the data based on the requirement. It's fine, well and good. But in case if I want some portion of data from customers, I want some portion of data from payments, I want some portion of data from products, then that's a different task altogether. There you need to proceed with a topic called joins. See, if I want to get customer data, I can go to customers table and I can get the data. If I want to see what are the products available, products table, get the data. What are the payment modes available? Is it cash on delivery, UPI payment? What exactly is it? I can go to the table and I can get the data. But if my requirement is there is a customer A, that customer A ordered which product, that product is coming under which category, and what is the payment mode the customer selected, and what is expected delivery address of that product. If I want to satisfy this entire question, definitely you need to connect all these tables, right? If you need to connect all these tables, first thing first, you need to have that connection between the tables, right? And that connection itself is something you are going to build with the help of a topic joins. So basically we are having 4 different types of joins, guys. Left join, right join, inner join, and full outer join. If you are trying to connect 2 tables and you are trying to perform a join type called left outer join, select everything from left table, common portion from right table. If you want to combine both tables and if you want to perform a joining type called right join, everything from right table and common portion from left table, right join. And in case if you want something called inner join, you need to fetch common data from both the tables. In case if you want something full outer join, not common, uncommon, you will be fetching everything from both the tables. Clear? One more time, I'm repeating the same thing. If you are trying to perform left join, you will be fetching entire data from left table and common portion from right table. If you are trying to perform right join, entire data from right table, common portion from left table. Inner join is nothing but common data from both the tables. Full outer join is nothing but everything from both the tables. Okay. Same Power BI. There you are having extra 2 type of joins called left anti, right anti. Here you are having 3 more extra joins called natural join, self join, and cross join. Natural join is something majority of the students, I don't know why they're not familiar with this in interviews, but you can expect the question on natural join too. So that is the reason I was trying to explain that. But let's focus on these joins first. Again, let's try to utilize the same 2 data sets, movies and members. Select star from movies. How many columns are there? Movies. 3. How many rows are there? 10. And here select star from members. How many columns are there? 4. How many rows are there? 8. Now just update me what is the primary key of both the tables and what is the foreign key. Okay, you can execute in your laptop also. Just try to understand, analyze and update me. What are the primary key columns? What are the foreign key columns? ID in which table? Hmm. Hmm. Online participants? Guys, just try to understand this. If you are talking about a table called movies table, in movies table, the primary key column is your ID column. Yes, the primary key column in the movies table is ID column. Now, if you are talking about members table, the primary key column in members is your mem ID, members data, mem ID. Mem ID is nothing but member ID. But the only column available in members is your movie ID, right? So movie ID is the foreign key column available in your members table. If you want to connect to, see, ID in movies is talking about ID of that movie. That is nothing but movie ID. Mem ID in members is talking about member ID. Movie ID and member ID both are different. But ID in movies and movie ID in members are same. Right? Why? Because movie ID in members is your foreign key. If you want to connect these two tables, you need to pick ID from movies and you need to pick movie ID from members. And that is what we even discussed it in Power BI, I guess. But now let's try to understand what we are going to do, how the syntax works in this concept. Just try to update me if you are trying to perform inner join, how many rows we need to get. Inner join is nothing but common data, right? So how many rows we'll be getting? Just update me. 5. Everyone, just try to search the data. Try to check those two tables and get that update. Five rows. So 1, 2, 5, 8, 10 is the common data that you need to fetch from both the tables, right? Let's try to execute it. See, if you are talking about 1, 2, 5, 8, 10, which is there available in movie ID column of members table, and that exact same data itself is available here. 1, 2, 5, and then 8 and 10. That means these 5 records have been there in movies and these same 5 records have been there in members as well. That means what is the inner join that we discussed here? You will be fetching only common data between both the tables. 1 to 5, 10, 1 to 5, 10, you will be getting 5 records. Now let's try to understand how to write a query here. In Power BI, it's all about you just drag and drop the table, selected the checkbox, common column, selecting the type, just click on OK button. But here it's not like drag and drop. Here you need to write a code. So how you are going to write a code? Let's try to understand. I want to fetch data, all the columns from both the tables, right? So simple syntax, select all columns in the sense star from which table? Movies table. And what is the join type? Inner join. You need to mention the join type before connecting two tables. So movies, inner join, and to which table you need to connect? Members. Simply provide that members. Remember, whatever the table name that you are utilizing left side to your joining type, that is your left table, and whatever the table that you are providing right side to your joining type, that is your right table. On movies.id equals to members.movieid. I'll explain you what exactly this is. You are asking SQL to fetch all the columns from movies. Yes or no? You're asking SQL to fetch all the columns from movies table and members table and try to join these two tables with a type called inner join. Yes, okay, fine, well and good. But on what basis you are connecting? If you are simply asking to connect two tables, SQL will not understand, right, what exactly you are asking about. For that, you need to provide on condition. On movies.id equals to members.movieid. That means pick ID column from movies table and pick movie ID column from members table. Based upon this common column condition between both the tables, try to fetch that output. Pick ID column from movies, movie ID column from members. ID from movies, movie ID from members. If both conditions satisfy, just generate that output. Automatically you'll get 5 records. How many columns are there in left table, guys? See, guys, whatever the table that you are providing to the condition, that is your left table. Whatever the table that you are providing right side to your type, that is a right table. Now, just update me. How many columns are there in movies table? Not rows, columns. 3. How many columns are there in members? 4 plus 3. Here we are putting star, right? How many columns we need to get in the output now? 7 columns. And how many rows we need to get? 5 rows. And that is how your inner join works. Okay. So just check this out. In the same way, just give it a try with left outer join as well as full outer, right outer join. performed it? How? Full outer, huh? Full outer, there is no full outer in SQL, MySQL. Not in SQL, in MySQL. Syntax is not there. But there is other way. We can do that. How many rows you need to get in left outer join? Assuming left table has movies and right table has members. 10. Left table is movies, right table is members. In movies table, you are having 10 records and left outer join. What is left outer join? You will be fetching entire data from left table and common portion from right table. If left table is movies, if 10 rows are there in movies, obviously you need to get 10 rows. And whatever the common data from right table is there, you will get that 5 rows from right table. The total count is 10 records. And to execute it, again, select star from movies, left join. You can type like left join, or you can even type it as left outer join also. And then what is the table, right table? Members on movies.id. What does it mean? Pick ID column from movies table and try to compare it with movie ID column from members table. Yes or no? Members.movie ID. Obviously, 10 rows are been there in left table called movies. You will get the 10 records here, 10 rows. Now assume left table is movies, right table is members. How many rows are there in right table? In members, how many rows are there? 8. What is the nature of right outer join? Everything from right table, common portion from left table. If all the records you are trying to fetch from right table and common portion from left table, obviously you need to get 8 records. So that is the reason, in case if I am utilizing the same syntax, instead of writing, I'll just copy it and I'll try to paste it. Instead of inner join, I'll just change it to the name called right join, or you can even call it as right outer join, anything fine. On movies.id, members.movieid, select that entire code, execute. Now you will be getting 8 rows. Why? Because 8 rows are there in members table and all 5 common records from left table movies. And full join is something that is not available here in MySQL. That is something we can do with the integration of left join plus right join plus union concept. And that union is something that we are going to discuss in the next session. We discussed about connecting the tables horizontally, right? Today, there is the other way to connect to tables vertically as well. That is what, if you try to remember the concept in Power BI, merge queries, append queries. Merge queries is something we connected two tables horizontally. But in append queries, top, bottom stacking. There all columns need to match, all data types need to match, all header names need to match. We discussed about one example. So for example, 2021 sales data, 2022 sales data, 2023 sales data. If you want to store all 2021, 2022, 2023, all years data in a same table, there the concept comes into picture, right? So in that way, we can plan it and we can play with those options. Same. Append queries in Power BI, union concept in SQL, both are same. Merge queries in Power BI, joins in SQL, both are same. In this way, you can compare it. Clear, guys? Online participants, any doubts? So from today onwards, last 5 minutes, we'll schedule it for doubt clarification session. So in case any doubts that are been there, you can just ask me. So full join works by using Yes, Akshay, exactly. We can use it with union concept and we can work with it. Explain once delete option. Delete DML, you're asking about DML? Yes, okay. Say, for example, mm, here you're having a table called customers. I just want to delete this particular record from the table. Simply what you are going to do, you'll go with data manipulation language delete. But I explained you before updating or delete, you need to use a syntax called set SQL safe updates equals to 0. Now after executing it, now you can utilize this option to delete it. So what is the syntax? Delete from, what is the table? Customers, where customer ID equals to 3, semicolon, execute. Now if you are trying to execute the syntax now, that row itself is going to be deleted. 3 itself is not there. Okay. So if you want to delete one record or some set of records or individual records, all records from the table, delete will help you out into the task. Set of records in the sense, see, in operator we discussed it yesterday or day before yesterday. If I want to delete both customer ID 5, customer ID 6, customer ID 7, then the syntax goes like, instead of equals to 3, customer ID in, open and close the parenthesis, I'll try to provide 5, 6, 7. That means in a single go, now you are going to delete this set of records 5, 6, 7. Execute. Now, if you are trying to execute this particular code, now those records will absent. అయింది కదా. అది ఏమైతుందంటే ఇష్యూ కొన్నిసార్లు మీరు ఒకటే రన్ పేజ్లు ఉన్నప్పుడు సరిగా తీసుకోదు అది. ఒక్కసారి ఏం చేయాలంటే స్కీమాస్ రిఫ్రెష్ చేసి కాపీ చేసి కంట్రోల్ ఎంటర్ షార్ట్ కట్ కాకుండా రన్ బటన్ నొక్కకండి మళ్ళీ, అప్పుడు వర్క్ అవుతుంది. అది ఒక్కొక్కసారి ఏంటంటే స్ట్రక్ అవుతుంది అట్లా, బట్ ఇట్ విల్ వర్క్. ఓకే రైట్ సౌమ్య, క్లియర్? So you told that having clause works for aggregated columns means having clause won't work with text data. In that way also you can work, no problem. But the thing is, where will not work with aggregate column, aggregate data? Yes, obviously text data it will not work, but only one count aggregation will work again. Why? Because count is that one aggregation which works with both numeric and non-numeric, right? With count you can utilize having. That is one advantage. Alam, sets equals safe updates equals to 0 is the syntax to utilize so that you can start working with update and delete. If you are not utilizing that code, you cannot proceed with update and delete. If you are executing that code, then you can start working with update and delete statements. How to bring back the deleted data is something we'll be learning it with TCL, transactional control language, Vidhi. In coming sessions, we'll discuss about it. And the same thing, Vinod. Yes, exactly, Soumya. If you want to delete one column, drop. Alter table, table name, drop column, column name. We discussed about it, I guess. With the help of alter, you can do that. Okay, right, Alam. That is something with union concept we need to do, Sudhir. Union still we haven't covered, right? In the next session, we'll cover union. Can you also tell us about other two joins that you? Yes. Obviously, Alam. I'll try to explain you those things like cross join, self join, and even natural join as well. Okay. Likita, as I explained, right? With alter, you can delete. Alter table name, drop column name. Alter table name, drop column name. Monday directly. Okay. We'll resume back the session with Monday again. Okay, guys, online participants. So directly we'll connect on Monday. So, so can we join? Yes, we can even join more than two tables also, Pranita. I'll explain you. We'll try to take multiple tables and we'll try to connect it. Or else a simple question for your weekend. Try to create four tables. You know, right, how to create four tables? With the help of create. DDL create, try to create four tables. Make sure you are having primary key, foreign key relationship and try to connect all four tables. Clear? Directly on Monday we can connect, Ajay. Okay, tomorrow there's no session. Okay, clear guys then? Everyone, any doubts still? Yeah, now it will not understand. It's a little tricky. Once if you are completing that SQL module, then you can start working on HackerRank. Okay, still we are in the initial stage, right? So those things, it will be a little tough. Once if you're completing 70-80% of syllabus, then I'll only suggest you to start working on these websites. Okay, still, what about others? Everyone clear, guys? Hmm? Okay, right. Okay, thank you, Alam. Welcome. So, okay, guys, then we'll connect again on Monday. Everyone, happy weekend. Bye, guys, everyone.